Okay, at the beginning of this episode, we see everyone at the marina, Saeed, Ben, Jack, and Kate. Remember, Sun sitting in her car. She has the gun. She decides to get out of the car and go over, and she's going to, blow Ben away, right? So she, cocks the gun, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, Sun has a gun. Saeed's like, holy crap. Kate's like, where's Aaron? She's like, the brat's in the car. Just, go over there. And she's, going to kill Ben. And Ben's like, you don't want to shoot me, son. She's like, you killed my husband. Well, she didn't say you killed my husband. She said, you're the reason that my husband is dead. And he's like, no, I'm not. And Jin is alive. I have proof. Come with me. We're going to go see an old hag about 30 minutes away. She'll help us get back on the island. Sounds like, that's what you guys are doing? You want to go back to the island? Kate overhears this, and she's like, she's got Aaron, right? She's going to get into her car, and she's all, no. And she gets in her car and drives off. Jack's like, no goodbye kiss? Saeed has decided he's had enough, and he's like, I want no part of this. And he points at Ben and Jack and is like, if I see you or you again, it will be very unpleasant for all of us. And he takes off. Jack's like, no goodbye kiss? Sun agrees to go with Ben and Jack to go see this woman. Back on the island, Jin is with the French people, remember? And the French people have a radio, and they can tell that there's a signal coming from somewhere on the island. And they ask Jin, is there a radio tower here? He's like, yes. Come with us to go to the radio tower, and then we'll take you to your camp. Because he's worried about trying to get back to Sun. He doesn't know that she's gone. So they go traipsing through the jungle. And then suddenly, one of their teammates is gone, Nadine. And then they hear the monster sound. And Jin's all, monster! And Nadine drops out of the trees or something. They're all screaming, and then Jin's like, run! They go running, but the blonde guy ends up getting captured by the monster and gets pulled along the ground. Well, the rest of the people try and grab onto him to keep him from being captured by the monster. And the monster takes him to where there's these ruins or something like that. They call it a temple later in the episode. And so there's a hole next to the wall. He's going to go down in the hole. And the monster's trying to pull him down in there, and the rest of them are got him by the arm. Well, the monster pulls so hard that the guy's arm rips off. They all start freaking out. Then they hear that he's still down in the hole, and he's like, oh, I'm hurt, but please come and get me. It's gone now. All the guys are like, okay, we're going to go in there. Danielle was going to start to go down there, and then Jin's like, no, not with baby. So she's like, okay, fine. So she grabs her little gun, and she's going to stand guard. And then, time flash. Jin doesn't know where he's at. He's in the same exact place, but time has passed. He looks down, and he sees the bloody arm that was just there, a second ago, is now decomposing. He decides to go make his way out to the beach and finds the French people's camp. And two guys are laying there in the sand, all dead. He's like, what happened? Then he hears yelling, and he sees off in the distance that Danielle and Robert are arguing. And they're arguing because Danielle's going to shoot Robert because she thinks that everyone is sick, the monster made them sick. And Robert says, no, the monster is a security system for guarding that temple. It's, I'm fine or whatever. Danielle lowers her gun. Robert picks up his gun and tries to shoot Danielle, but there's no bullets in his gun. Then Danielle goes ahead and blows him away because she's like, how dare you shoot me and I'm pregnant. So Jin's all screaming, and then Danielle turns on him. She's like, you disappeared. You're sick too. He goes and runs off into the jungle. Time flash. Poof. Okay, he's in the jungle. Danielle's no longer with him, but he does hear that there's a gun click behind him, and he hears his voice say, turn around. And when he turns around, it's Sawyer. Sawyer goes up and gives him a hug. He's like, I thought you were in the freighter. He says, no, I dive in water. Okay, so Jin's back with the gang. Everyone's there. And they're trying to explain to him that every time the sky flashes that they jump forward or backward in time, and he doesn't understand. So he goes over to Miles and Charlotte and is like, translate. And, Sawyer's like, yeah, Ghost Whisperer, why don't you translate? Talking to Miles. And Miles is like, yeah, Korean, Encino. I just have no idea. Sorry. Charlotte can speak Korean, so she tells Jin that, okay, it's the time flashes, blah, 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 we jump through time. Oh, they also tell him that Sun has made it off the island. And the reason that they're going through the jungle is because they're going to go to this place called the Orchid, because Locke believes that once he gets there, he'll be able to get off the island and bring everyone back. And Jin says, why you bring Sun back? And Locke says, because she never should have left. So they decide, okay, we're going to go off and, go to the Orchid. Okay, meanwhile, back in the real world, Sun and Jack and Ben, are driving along, and, Sun's like, I'm bored. I thought you said it would take 30 minutes. He's like, I didn't know there would be traffic, Sun. Anyways, Jack's all like trying to apologize for leaving Jin on the freighter. He was like, oh, it was happening too quickly. I should have went back down there or whatever. And his son's in the front seat, and she's like, Jack, just shut up. Your character's not even interesting this episode. Are you afraid I'm going to shoot Ben? He's like, I'm going to kill him if you don't kill him for what he just did to Kate. Well, Ben hears this, and he decides to pull over because he's had enough. And he's like, I'm just trying to help you people. You want to kill me? Then go ahead and just do it. And Son's like, just drive. Okay, back on the island, there's been a couple of time flashes, right? Charlotte decides to take this opportunity to completely just go bonkers. So she's falling down and going crazy and talking about all kinds of stupid stuff. And then she kind of comes to for a second and tells Jin, don't you let him bring your wife back. This place is death. So Jin's like, okay, what's wrong with crazy redhead? They decide that they're going to leave Charlotte behind because she's like obviously in no shape to actually go walking through the jungle. Faraday decides to stay with her. And they're wondering, okay, if we're jumping through time, what are the chances of we getting to the orchid and that we're actually in the same time where the orchid exists? And so Charlotte tells them, look for the well. When they get to the orchid, the Locke and all them, they see that it's there. And then there's a time flash, and then it's not. And then Locke looks off into the jungle and sees that there's a well. He's going to try and climb down into the well because he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. But he's going to climb down into the well and, do that. Meanwhile, back where Charlotte and Faraday was, Charlotte says, I've been on this island before. That's how she knew about the well. When she was a little girl, she was there with her mother during the Dharma Initiative days, and she said that there was a scary man that told her never to come back to the island, and she thinks that it was Daniel. He thinks that she's all, like crazy because she's just, all time warped in the brain. And then eventually she dies. Charlotte is dead. This time, for real. If they bring her back. Okay, meanwhile, back at the well. John's going to climb down the rope. Jin gets angry because he's like, okay, don't you bring Sun. Don't bring Sun. And he's got a machete. He's going to cut the rope so John can't climb down into the well. And Locke promises that he's not going to bring Sun. But he says, okay, what if Sun comes to me? So Jin gives him his wedding ring and says, you tell her I did. And then that way it won't give her a reason to come to the island. And he's like, okay, fine. He climbs down into the well. And like Sawyer's holding the rope. And then there's a time flash. And then when they come out of the time flash, the well's not there, but the rope goes straight down into the ground. Meanwhile, under the ground, John has fallen and busted his leg up so bad that, like, there's a bone, I'm showing my arm, but, like, imagine this is his leg. There's, like, a bone sticking straight up out of his leg. I was all, ew, that's nasty. And then out of the darkness comes Jack's father, Christian. And he's like, thank God you're here, John. You need to fix this. I told you to move the island, not Ben. And Locke's like, I'm kind of in some pain, so if you could just show a little, compassion. He's like, you need to fix this. He says, but first what you need to do is you need to get up and come around this corner, and there's this big wheel. All you need to do is give it a little push. In the real world, you're going to seek out a woman called Eloise Hawking. He says, and then get all the people that left the island, and it has to be all of them, and bring them back. And Locke's like, okay, well, can you help me up? And Christian's like, no, thanks. I never touched the stuff. Sorry. He gets up, busted leg and all, goes over to the wheel, and he, like, nudges it. And then there's a time flash starting. Christian at the last minute says, say hi to my son. And Locke's like, who's your son? Okay, time flash. That's all you see of the people on the island. Back in the real world, Ben drives up to the outside of a church. Son and Jack jump out of the car. Ben pulls out of his pocket, says, he gives her Jin's ring and says, this is proof that your husband is still alive. Locke gave it to me before he died. The son's like, okay. Up walks Desmond. He's like, what are you doing here? And Ben's all, I suppose the same thing you are. They all go into the church. Ben goes in and he says, hi, Eloise. She turns around and she's like, this ain't all of them. I thought I said all of them. He's like, this is all I could get on such short notice. She's like, okay, fine. That's it. Then let's begin. And that's how the episode ends. If you're lost, so am I.